November 15th, 2027, 0300 hours Central European Time. General Marcus Harrison stands in the command bunker beneath Ramstein Air Base, Germany, watching 367 red icons advance across digital maps. 58 years old, veteran of Gulf War 91, Iraq 2003, and Afghanistan 2010, Harrison sees something unprecedented. Russian armored columns, each containing more tanks than entire divisions fielded in Iraq, push westward. Behind them, Chinese Y-20 strategic transports deliver equipment to bases in Belarus. The alliance America feared for 80 years finally materialized, bringing 1.2 million soldiers, 5,000 tanks, and 2,000 aircraft to European soil. NATO scrambled 400,000 troops to Poland and Baltic states, fielding 2,000 Abrams tanks and 600 F-35 fighters. American technology maintains superiority. Each Abrams crew trains 18 months. Each F-35 pilot represents $4 million investment. But quantity possesses quality when opponents operate modern equipment. Russian T-14 tanks match Abrams frontal armor while costing one-third the price. Chinese J-20 fighters close stealth gaps with each production batch. The technological edge defining American dominance since 1991 shrunk to marginal advantages, and marginal advantages cannot overcome 3-to-1 numerical inferiority. Colonel Dylan Rivers commands 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team, 1st Cavalry Division, defending Warsaw. 45 years old, Iraq and Afghanistan veteran, Rivers watches his 4,000 soldiers face 28,000 enemy troops with 400 tanks. His brigade carries 12,000 main gun rounds for 68 Abrams. Simple mathematics reveals disaster. Even perfect gunnery, every shot killing one enemy vehicle, leaves magazines empty after destroying 200 targets. The remaining forces continue advancing. December 1st, 04:15 hours. Russian artillery fires 12,000 rounds in 42 minutes. American gunners engage at 3,000 meters, achieving initial kills. But Russians accept losses NATO cannot sustain. By 1100 hours, brigade destroyed 300 enemy tanks while losing 51 Abrams. Ammunition drops to 28%. Russians bring fresh reserves faster than Americans can destroy them. December 2nd, 1400 hours. Orders arrive for withdrawal to Lodz. Warsaw falls after 38 hours. The city Americans promised to defend for 80 years becomes Russian-controlled territory. Lieutenant Colonel Wyatt Cooper coordinates fighting withdrawal through burning streets. 42 years old, 2 Iraq tours, and 3 Afghanistan deployments behind him, Cooper knows urban warfare against insurgents. Russians bring thermobaric rockets collapsing entire apartment blocks, creating rubble channeling American armor into kill zones. Cooper loses 11 of 39 battalion tanks in 6 hours. Survivors retreat westward under artillery smoke, turning morning into twilight. Polish civilians who believed American promises watch T-14s roll past abandoned positions. Major Phoenix Sterling flies F-35C Lightning II fighters from USS Gerald R. Ford, operating in Philippine Sea. 38 years old, 460 combat hours over Afghanistan and Syria, Sterling faces entirely different challenge. Chinese carrier groups brought 250 J-15 and J-20 fighters. American wings deploy 190 aircraft across 4 carriers, maintaining technological edge through superior training. But Chinese tactics avoid fair fights. They saturate screens with cruise missiles, forcing Americans to expend ordnance on drone swarms, while manned aircraft strike from unexpected vectors. Sterling shoots down 3 J-15s and 1 J-20 in first week, becoming squadron's top ace. Then, Chinese DF-26 anti-ship ballistic missiles crater Ford's flight deck on December 7th, forcing withdrawal to Pearl Harbor for repairs. American carriers design projecting power against third-world nations discover vulnerability to peer competitors with 1,000-mile range precision weapons. December 20th. Captain Jackson Carter leads company from 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, defending Taiwanese beaches when Chinese Type 075 landing ships arrive. 32 years old, Carter's only combat was Afghanistan 2019 fighting Taliban. Chinese bring 15,000 Marines in first wave, supported by amphibious vehicles swimming ashore under rocket artillery that turns beaches into moonscape. Carter's 180 Marines hold 11 hours, destroying 7 vehicles and killing 300 enemy soldiers. Chinese flank from north and south simultaneously, forcing withdrawal. American casualties exceed 60%. Carter evacuates 23 wounded and 41 effective fighters inland, leaving beach to forces outnumbering defenders 12-1. January 15th. NATO counteroffensive toward Lodz gains 12 kilometers in 3 days before stalling. Sergeant Atlas Stone manages fuel distribution in Poznan. His convoys lose 3 trucks per trip to attacks. Deliveries drop from 12,000 to 8,000 gallons daily. Economic warfare accelerates defeat. Chinese cyber attacks delay shipments 3 weeks. Russian submarines sink 14 cargo ships. American defense industry cannot surge production. Raytheon makes 40 missiles monthly while combat consumes 300 weekly. Lockheed builds 14 F-35s monthly while losses average 19 weekly. Staff Sergeant Knox Hawthorne coordinates air support for 82nd Airborne holding Riga Airport. Russians create 30-kilometer no-fly zone with S-400 missiles. Hawthorne requests B-1B bombers for danger close strikes. Bombs destroy 2 tank companies, but kill 11 paratroopers. Riga falls February 4th after 17 days. 3,000 surrender when ammunition exhausts. Strategic picture darkens. Russians control Baltics, encircle Warsaw. Chinese occupy northern Taiwan, sink 2 destroyers. NATO suffered 120,000 casualties, including 18,000 killed. American public turns negative when losses exceed 20 years Iraq and Afghanistan combined. Wisconsin's 3rd District lost 214 from 1 battalion. Tennessee's 4th mourns 187 Marines when Chinese sank USS Somerset. February 10, 2028. National Security Council convenes emergency session. General Harrison presents analysis confirming NATO cannot achieve military victory without full mobilization, requiring minimum 2 years implementing. Russian and Chinese casualties exceed 650,000, demonstrating they absorb losses, breaking Western political will. American casualties approach 180,000, with projections suggesting 250,000 by March if operations continue at current intensity. Secretary of Defense presents 3 options: full mobilization with draft implementation, tactical nuclear weapons, or negotiated armistice accepting territorial losses. Congress already blocked draft legislation. Nuclear option risks civilization ending escalation. Armistice becomes least catastrophic choice. Negotiations commence. Geneva, February 18th. American delegation accepts Russian control of Baltics and Chinese control of Taiwan in exchange for cessation and guaranteed independence of Poland, Japan, South Korea. Treaty recognizes new geopolitical reality where American military dominance no longer guarantees international order. European Union, witnessing American inability defending Eastern members, accelerates independent defense integration. Japan and South Korea begin nuclear weapons programs within 6 months. Middle Eastern allies realign toward China, recognizing shift in global power. American aircraft carriers, symbols of global reach 80 years, become expensive relics designed for conflicts against opponents without peer capabilities. General Harrison retires April 2028. He teaches at Army War College, emphasizing defeat resulted from strategic assumptions, not soldier failures. American military trained for chosen engagement timing and air superiority. Opponents denied every assumption. Colonel Rivers commands brigade that lost 41 tanks and 897 killed. He watches officers process lessons. American tactics optimized for counterinsurgency proved inadequate against Soviet deep battle doctrine, updated with precision weapons. Lieutenant Colonel Cooper teaches at Armor School. His battalion lost 28 tanks in Warsaw. Cooper's lectures emphasize dispersion and acceptance that American armor no longer dominates through technology alone. Major Sterling transfers to shore-based squadron. He recognizes mathematical reality. Chinese produce fighters faster than Americans train replacement pilots. Captain Carter receives Silver Star, then resigns. His company suffered 63% casualties defending island that fell 3 weeks later. 23 Marines died, buying 11 days. First Lieutenant Bradley continues artillery, teaching rapid displacement and ammunition conservation after learning each enemy casualty cost 100 rounds. Sergeant Stone teaches logistics, emphasizing redundancy after watching convoys lose trucks to ambush and fuel dumps destroyed by raids. Staff Sergeant Hawthorne joins defense contractors, teaching infantry to operate without air support assumptions after surviving Riga 6 days evading Russian patrols. Combat lessons. The conflict demonstrated American military dominance, unquestioned since 1991, depended on specific conditions rather than permanent superiority. Those conditions included technological advantage in precision weapons, air superiority enabling freedom of maneuver, opponents without sophisticated air defense or long-range precision strike, unlimited time for force buildup before combat, and domestic political willingness accepting casualties. When opponents possessed modern weapons, established air defense zones, employed precision strike against logistics, initiated conflicts before American mobilization, and accepted casualties, American public rejected. The dominance evaporated. Technology assessment. Superior training and better equipment provided advantages but could not overcome numerical inferiority, constrained logistics, and political restrictions on casualty acceptance. Russian T-14 tanks, while marginally inferior to Abrams in crew training and fire control refinement, proved adequate for their tactical role when fielded in numbers, enabling absorption of losses. Chinese J-20 fighters, while not matching F-35 in all performance parameters, created contested airspace when combined with integrated air defense networks. The American assumption that quality always trumps quantity proved false when quality gap narrowed to marginal differences and quantity disparity reached 3-to-1 ratios. Logistics reality. Sustained conventional warfare requires industrial capacity replacing combat losses at rates matching or exceeding enemies' ability to inflict them. American defense industry, consolidated through decades of mergers creating efficient monopolies, optimized production for peacetime economics rather than wartime surge capacity. Russian and Chinese industries maintained excess capacity specifically for wartime expansion. When conflicts began, American factories required 18 to 24 months retooling for increased production. Russian and Chinese factories increased output within weeks by activating dormant production lines and extending shifts. Alliance reliability. American security guarantees, foundation of post-Cold War international order, depended on credible capability defending partners against aggression. When American forces proved unable defending Poland and Taiwan against determined peer competitors, Allies recognized guarantees rested on assumptions about American military dominance no longer reflecting reality. The psychological impact of watching American forces withdraw under pressure created crisis of confidence affecting every alliance relationship. Partners began hedging strategies, including independent defense development and diplomatic accommodation with regional powers. Strategic mobility. American military designed for force projection across oceans discovered vulnerability when opponents controlled geography. Moving forces from continental United States to European or Pacific theaters required weeks of sea transport, exposing logistic shipping to submarine and air attack throughout journey. Russian and Chinese forces operated close to home bases, enabling rapid reinforcement via rail and road networks protected by homeland air defense. The geographic advantage, long recognized in military theory, proved decisive when combined with modern precision strike capabilities targeting American logistics infrastructure. Political will. Democracies face inherent disadvantage conducting sustained conventional wars against authoritarian opponents, willing accepting higher casualties. American casualties approaching 200,000 in 3 months created political crisis requiring immediate resolution. Russian and Chinese casualties exceeding 650,000 generated no equivalent political pressure on their governments. The casualty exchange ratio, while favoring American forces tactically, proved strategically irrelevant when American public demanded cessation while opponent publics accepted continued sacrifice. Nuclear deterrence. The conflict revealed limitations of nuclear deterrence, preventing conventional defeat. American nuclear arsenal, vast and sophisticated, provided no solution to problem of conventional military failure in limited war. Escalating to nuclear weapons risked civilization-ending exchange over territorial disputes with limited American strategic interest. The nuclear umbrella, effective deterring Soviet invasion during Cold War, proved inapplicable to conflicts where opponents carefully avoided threatening American homeland while achieving regional objectives. Nuclear weapons prevented worst-case scenarios, but could not prevent limited defeats in peripheral theaters. The broader strategic lessons prove hardest for American institutions absorbing. Pentagon reviews reveal procurement programs optimized for counterinsurgency and precision strike against unsophisticated opponents failed maintaining capabilities needed for sustained conventional warfare against peer competitors. Munition stockpiles, adequate for destroying terrorist camps and insurgent positions, exhausted within weeks of conventional combat at intensity levels common during Second World War and Korea. Defense industrial base, consolidated through mergers, creating efficient monopolies, cannot surge production during wartime. Allies, trusting American security guarantees 70 years, discover those guarantees assumed conflicts against second-tier opponents rather than peer competitors, willing, accepting casualties, breaking American political will. What if America lost World War III? The scenario remains hypothetical, but analysis reveals fundamental vulnerabilities requiring attention regardless whether specific conflict occurs. Military power depends on more than equipment quality or soldier training. Sustained conventional warfare requires industrial capacity replacing losses, political will accepting casualties without immediate victory, demographic depth absorbing personnel losses, geographic position enabling defense without extended logistics, and alliance reliability ensuring partners contribute promised forces. America possessed superior equipment and better trained soldiers, but lacked sufficient industrial surge capacity, political casualty tolerance, mobilization base, and geography favoring defense over force projection. The soldiers who fought learned these lessons personally, paying with blood for knowledge their institutions should have maintained from previous conventional conflicts. They represent thousands who served honorably within system that failed them, fighting bravely in war their nation proved unable winning. Their service deserves better outcome, but history judges results rather than intentions. America lost World War III, not through soldier failure, but through strategic choices leaving military unable achieving objectives politicians assigned. The question facing American leadership becomes whether nation will learn lessons from hypothetical scenario or wait until next conventional conflict forces same painful education at cost measured in tens of thousands of casualties and strategic defeats that reshape global order for generations.